In one of the remote corners of Anatolia, in the village of Akaova, 22-year-old Elif Demir was returning home from the fields that evening, as always. After her father's death, as the only daughter who stayed with her mother, she took care of both the house and their small fields. In the village, they knew her as the strong girl, because she could do work that a man would do. As the last rays of the sun disappeared behind the mountains, she first saw the bloodstains in front of the garden gate. Her heart began to race. These weren't just a few drops. It was a continuous trail leading to the back door of her house. "Mom," she called out. No answer. Her mother must be at the neighbor's. With trembling hands, she took out the key. When she opened the door, the scene before her left her frozen. There was a man lying on the kitchen floor, gasping from blood loss. Torn gendarmerie uniform, bullet wounds on his shoulder and leg, and that desperation on his face. "Help me," the man whispered, fixing his eyes on Elif. "Please, they'll find me. I don't have much time." Elif's first impulse was to flee, but the pain in the man's eyes was the same as the desperation she had seen in her father's last days. As if an inner voice was whispering help. "Who are you?" she asked, with fear and curiosity in her voice. "Lieutenant Mehmet Kaya," the man said, gasping for breath with each word. "They declare me a traitor, but I only followed my conscience." Elif hesitated for a moment. Had she found a man in her house whom the state called a traitor? But he was losing blood, he was dying. Would her humanity prevail, or would she keep herself safe? At that moment, she remembered the words she heard when her father died. "Daughter, the most precious thing in this world is conscience. Never lose it." "All right," she said with a determined voice. "I will help you." Elif's medical knowledge was limited, but in village life, she had learned to deal with minor injuries. First, she cleaned Mehmet's bleeding wounds, bandaged them with clean cloth from the house. The man was on the verge of fainting. Carrying him to the basement alone was difficult, but she managed it. There were old beds there, a safe place where she could hide him. "Why are you running?" she asked while trying to bring down his fever. Mehmet began to tell with half-closed eyes. 3 days ago, my commander gave us an order. We were to attack civilians in a nearby village who were allegedly terrorists. But I went to that village. There were only elderly people, women, and children there. Innocents. He ran out of breath, waited a bit. I refused the order. I said, I cannot kill innocent people. My commander got angry, accused me of rebellion. That night, I decided to escape, but they tried to catch me. I was wounded in the fight. Elif's heart ached. So this man really had a conscience. The next day, Elif tried to continue her normal life. She didn't tell her mother about Mehmet to protect him, but there was movement in the village. Gendarmerie cars were coming and going, searching houses thoroughly. "Daughter, they say there's a fugitive in the village," her mother Ayşe said when she came home in the evening. "Someone dangerous. If you see him, report it immediately." Elif's heart clenched, but she said nothing. At midnight, she brought food to Mehmet. His fever had subsided, he was a bit better. "Why are you helping me?" Mehmet asked with a breathless voice. Elif remained silent for a long time. "I don't know," she finally said. "Maybe since my father died, for the first time I feel that someone really needs help. What if we get caught? Then we'll get caught together." This courage deeply moved Mehmet. The strong character he saw in this village girl was unlike anything he had encountered in his life. The village headman, Hasan Uncle, was a careful man. He began to notice small changes in Elif's behavior. She was buying more food than usual from the market. Sounds were coming from her house at night. And most importantly, she had lost her usual cheerfulness. "There's something strange about our Elif," he said to his wife one evening. "She seems to be hiding something." Meanwhile, other developments were also happening in the village. Gendarmerie Commander Major Selçuk Eren was determined to find the fugitive lieutenant, because Mehmet's escape cast a shadow on his authority. "This lieutenant must be found," he said to his subordinates. He tainted the army's honor. "Search every house, every barn, every basement." As the days passed, a special bond began to form between Elif and Mehmet. Mehmet showed that he was not just a brave soldier, but also someone who wrote poetry, read books, and loved music. Elif was also, in his eyes, not just a beautiful village girl, but a strong, intelligent, and brave woman. I wanted to be a teacher, Elif said one night while changing Mehmet's bandages. But after my father died, I had to give up my dreams. Why did you give up? You still look young. Who would take care of my mother? Who would manage the fields? In the village, girls' dreams are considered a luxury. Mehmet's heart ached. He had never met such a self-sacrificing woman. I grew up in the city, he said. Military school, discipline orders. But for the first time here by your side, I find peace. That night, both understood that romantic feelings were blooming between them. Mehmet's wounds began to heal, but he had nowhere to go. Elif also no longer wanted him to leave. The hours they spent together in the evenings were the most beautiful moments of the day for both. One evening, Mehmet took Elif's hand. Elif, he said with a gentle voice, you saved my life, but I know you put yours in danger. Elif's eyes filled with tears. You made me feel valuable for the first time, Mehmet. For the first time in my life, I feel like someone important. That night they kissed. It was a love born in the midst of desperation, pure, strong, and extremely dangerous. But their happiness didn't last long. The next morning, the village gossip woman Nacy Aunt was wandering around Elif's house. This girl is hiding something, she muttered to herself. At night, sounds come from that house. A man's voice. Gossip in the village began to increase. The change in Elif's behavior had now attracted everyone's attention. Even her best friend Fatma had begun to suspect. Elif, you've changed, Fatma said one day. What's wrong with you? Do you have a secret boyfriend? Elif didn't know how to answer this question. No, I'm just tired. But Fatma hadn't believed. Jealousy also began to come into play, because Elif had always been more beautiful, smarter, and more attractive. Now she seemed to have a secret love too. Meanwhile, Hassan's uncle decided it was time to voice his suspicions. One morning, he knocked on Elif's door. Daughter, he said with suspicious eyes, there's something strange about your house. The gendarmerie is also constantly searching the village. Do you know, is there someone you're trying to hide? Elif's blood froze, but she tried to appear calm. What would I hide, Hassan's uncle? I live alone with my mother. Then can they search your house? Just to be sure. Of course, Elif said, feeling her heart beating wildly. But I want to notify my mother first. This delay gave her time to warn Mehmet. Elif explained the seriousness of the situation to Mehmet. You can't stay here anymore, she said, crying. They'll find you. But where will I go? The whole country is looking for me. You can hide in the mountains. At least for a while. Mehmet took Elif's hands. What will happen to you if it comes out that you hid me? Don't worry about me. I took this risk knowingly. That night, Mehmet prepared to escape. But just as he was about to leave, they realized the house was surrounded. Fatma, defeated by her jealousy, had betrayed Elif. She told the gendarmerie that her friend was hiding a man in her house. She said she didn't know who he was, but she had observed suspicious situations. That night, the house was completely surrounded. Elif Demir, hand over the person you're hiding in your house. Major Selçuk Aaron shouted through a megaphone. Elif ran to Mehmet. You can escape through the back window, she said through tears. I can't leave without you, Mehmet said, embracing her. You're my life now. Go, Elif shouted. I love you, but your life is more valuable. Someday we'll find each other again. Mehmet kissed Elif one last time and tried to escape through the back window. But the soldiers waiting in the garden caught him. Elif opened the door and received the gendarmerie. Mehmet was already captured. Elif Demir, the major said with a harsh voice. I arrest you for treason against the state. Elif was arrested and tried for the crime of hiding a traitor to the homeland. The villagers were divided in two. Some supported her, while others branded her as a traitor to the homeland. In court, Elif silently listened to the accusations. She regretted nothing. Defendant Elif Demir, the judge said, do you admit that you hit a person sought by the state? Yes, Elif said without any tremor in her voice. But I hit a human being, someone with conscience, an innocent person. You hit someone the state declared traitor. The punishment for this is severe. Then I'll receive that punishment. But I won't suffer pangs of conscience. Mehmet's case also continued. But he not only made his own defense, he also defended Elif. "This woman is innocent," he said in court. "She only helped an injured human being. If this is a crime, then humanity is a crime. You're a soldier, Lieutenant Kaya. You must obey orders." "Yes, but conscience is above orders. I refuse to kill innocent people, and I have no regret about that." Mehmet's words echoed in the courtroom. Some people applauded him. An unexpected development occurred in the trial process. Mehmet's former commander, Captain Ali Yilmaz, came to court. He had documents in his hands. "I'm the former commander of Lieutenant Mehmet Kaya," he said while testifying. The order given that night was indeed against the law. Order to attack civilians. "This is unacceptable." The captain presented to the court the documents that proved Mehmet's innocence. "Lieutenant Kaya bears no guilt," he said decisively. "He showed no disobedience, he showed conscience. The mistake was ours. This young man is an honorable soldier." The courtroom stood up. Mehmet's eyes filled with tears. After examining the documents, both Mehmet and Elif were acquitted. They were no longer traitors to the homeland, but honorable people. When they left the court, parts of the villagers were applauding them. Especially the elderly appreciated Elif's courage. "Well done, my daughter," said the village's eldest, Grandpa Ahmet. "You're a real woman. You protected people with conscience." Mehmet, after being exonerated, went directly to find Elif. In the village square, in front of everyone's eyes, he knelt down. "Elif," he said loudly, "you saved both my life and my honor. I can't live without you. Will you marry me?" The villagers watched with amazement and curiosity. Elif's eyes filled with tears. "Yes," she said, "but now we both know that love can sometimes be very expensive." "You're worth it," Mehmet said, standing up and taking her in his arms. "You're worth risking everything for." Wedding preparations began. The villagers had also accepted them, even spoke of them with praise. Elif's courage had become legend in the village. Most importantly, Fatma had come to apologize. "Elif, forgive me," she said, crying. "I betrayed you out of jealousy. I was very wrong." "I've already forgiven you," Elif said. "Everyone makes mistakes. What's important is learning from our mistakes." They married 3 months later. The wedding became the biggest celebration in village history. Even people from neighboring villages came. Mehmet's military friends also attended the ceremony. Mehmet had been promoted in the army and started his new job. Elif had decided to run for the village's first female mayor. Together, they had proven the power of justice and love. "Do you regret it?" Mehmet asked during their honeymoon nights. "Never," Elif said. "Every risk taken for love was worth it." 1 year later, Elif had really become the village mayor. Mehmet had become one of the most respected soldiers in the region. Together, they had brought many innovations to the village. New school, health center, courses for women. Most importantly, Elif was pregnant. Soon there would be a new character in this love story. "Will you tell this story to our child?" Mehmet asked one evening. "Of course," Elif said, caressing her belly. "This story will be their story too. They must learn the power of conscience and love." And so, 2 hearts had united never to be separated again. Their story had become a legend that would be passed down from generation to generation in the village. This story shows that love is stronger than justice, that conscience will always prevail, and that true love is worth any risk. Because remember, every heart that struggles eventually finds happiness, and true love overcomes all obstacles. If this long story also touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. To meet new love stories every week, turn on notifications and share with us in your comments. Do you think Elif's courage is admirable? Which part of this love story affected you the most?